Hey everybody, and welcome back to another programming tutorial. This is basically going to be us jumping into some really cool libraries and showing you some awesome ways to graph data and add a new tool to your arsenal to use to kind of figure out what the heck is going on with my data and how to build off of it. So with that, what we have here, we will get to in a second, but let's jump into the Python, GitHub of this project. This project is called Detail. Detail is an interactive graphing tool that is basically built with Python, with Flask, with React, and with Dash. A lot of these we already know. If you guys have been watching some of my other videos, I also have a course focused on Dash, but Dash is a really powerful graphing tool, and basically Detail used that to build off of it to create something really interactive and cool and easy to use for any Python developer to see what is going on in the underlying information within their data. So with that, let's kind of go over it real quick. I'm just going to scroll through. Basically what you can do is you can throw in a pandas data frame, and it basically takes it to that next level. It's like a pandas data frame on steroids almost. It's awesome. So with that, let's kind of see. You can kind of see there are a bunch of different options whenever you're kind of graphing out your data, and you can see different points like right off the get-go of how do I want to build off and create more interactive dashboards off of the data, and this can kind of get you in that right direction. So with that, let's kind of see what we're going to be building out in this video. This video is going to be focused on financial data. We are going to be using our favorite, one of my favorites, which is CoinGecko. CoinGecko is a cryptocurrency API that basically takes financial data, and we are going to create a function right here that's going to run through it, and we could provide different parameters to it, like which coin we want, what time frames we want, and it's going to create this really seamless, awesome graph out of it. So once we run that, we will create this right here. So this just looks like a table, as you can see here, but as you already hinted, if you click on this, you have a lot more options of what you can really take advantage of. But really what I want to take you to is we have a bunch of different graphs that we could really build out with our data, and it's really simple to use. So the really cool thing is you can easily create 3D graphs like this. So after you throw it in there, all you have to do is you have to pick your x-axis. So we want time to be our x-axis, and if we want volume and volume, we can kind of see the correlation between all that data. And another one, like let's go into the line chart. Line charts are always cool. We could change this up. I want to do Bitcoin price, and we could do Etherium price, and there we go. So another cool thing about this is it does break it down in correlation to each other. So with Bitcoin price being so much higher than Ethereum, Bitcoin's currently about $10,000, where Ethereum's rocking about 200. So you really wouldn't be able to see the correlation directly because one would be way high up versus the other one down. But on the left-hand side, you can see the price of Bitcoin, and you hover over it, you can kind of see that too. And then you can also see the Ethereum price. You can change these up. Like I said, all these graphs are interactive, so if you just want to see one or the other, you want to add more, cryptocurrency in here, you can. But it's a really cool way to kind of group up and do different things with your data. You could do queries on how you really want to show it. There's a lot of more in-depth ways. Like for example, you want the median, you want the sum, the max. There's a lot of different ways that you can really display your data. So they make it really easy. They also have bar charts, as you can see here. I was showing the 3D scatter. Like I said, there's a bunch. You got scatters, but really what I'm trying to show you guys is how to get this thing up and going. So like I said, there are a bunch of other different options that we can really go into this. If we wanted to, we could go into filtering, and we could build columns right off of here, which is kind of cool. So for example, I thought this was cool. So you have two bits of data, and you can name it whatever you want. So if I want to do, price underscore divided, we can go in and we can select which two values do you want. So we want Bitcoin price, and then we want Ethereum price, we want to divide it, and we can create. And then right here, there it is. We can see the percentage of, it's really easy to, like I said, add on to this and work with your data and really create different ways of displaying it and run, different math equations on top of your data. So anyway, like I said, with that, let's kind of dive into the code. Let's see what we got here. Let's build this out. All right, everybody. So before we start diving into the code, I have a little bit of homework for you. Make sure that you have Jupyter Notebook installed on your computer and that you can run Jupyter Notebook files and and create them, okay? So if you don't know how to do that, go look up a tutorial video on how to install Jupyter Notebook. There are plenty out there. As developers, you need to face problems and figure them out yourself, and that's what I'm going to give to you. So after you get Jupyter Notebook installed, we can proceed with the tutorial and we can start building this out. It isn't necessarily, needed, I guess. You could say you could still build this all out without it, but I think it's very useful for kind of visualizing data, and you should have it if you're trying to work more with data regardless. So with that being said, that's what I'm going to be working in, is a Jupyter Notebook file, which connects to PyCharm, and it works seamlessly together with that IDE. And with that, let's get started. So I'm going to go over to new. I'm going to create a Jupyter Notebook right here. I'm going to name this practice detail. And with that, we should be started. So we got to do a quick install real quick. So I'm going to install that. So we got Jupyter Notebook, and we're going to really just kind of figure out all of our packages, get everything installed, and just let all that, commence. So I'll be right back. All right, so it looks like we got Jupyter Notebook all installed. Now we're going to actually jump into installing some of the other packages we're going to be needing. So, of course, one we're going to be needing is pandas. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do a pip install pandas. Then we also are going to be needing detail. That's a pretty easy one. So to get the latest version of detail, you want to basically do pip install -- upgrade detail, and then that should fix that. The next thing that we're going to need to install is we're going to be needing to get our data. So to connect to our data, we have a data wrapper to CoinGecko. So I'm going to do pip install PyCoinGecko. And that will bring that in, and that's a really quick install. So other than that, I think that's actually it. I'm just trying to run over everything. Okay, so let's get started. Let's actually get a graph up and going, and then we will build off of that. So I think that's how we're going to kind of work on this. Let's just get something up and going. Really simple. We won't even work with CoinGecko yet. We're just going to get a graph rendered. So in order to do that, we have to actually bring in our imports. I'm not going to bring them all. We'll just start off with what we're going to need to get this whole thing, at least a graph rendered. So I'll do import pandas as PD. Then we also want to bring in detail. So I'll say import detail. And with that, we should be able to get started. So I'm going to go over here. We're going to create a new code cell. If you are working within Jupyter Notebook, this is going to be the exact same process. And I'll kind of show this once we actually get this rendered, what yours is going to look like versus PyCharm. But like I said, it should be pretty intuitive. So with this all said and done, let's create our data frame. So DEF is going to be our data frame. We're going to make sure that that is going to be equal to pd.dataframe. And within here, we want to create a list. And within this list, we're going to create some dictionaries. So dictionary, within here, we are going to pass in A is going to be equal to 1, B is going to be equal to 2. Then we want to go back into the list. We're going to create another dictionary. So a dictionary, and then within here, A is going to be equal to 2, B is going to be equal to 3. And then lastly, we have one last one. So dictionary, and within here, I'm just going to say A is going to be equal to 3, B is going to be equal to 4. And then at the end of this data frame, we want to do dot set index, and we can set index as A. So with this said and done, we can actually go over to our detail dot show, and within here we just pass in our data frame, and that's it. So at the end of the day, the reason I want to show you, with such simple data is just show you how easy it is to get a detail table, working. You put in some clean data, you use the detail.show attribute, and then you get something up and running. So with that, let's actually get this, and let's get this running. So I'm going to run cell. We'll run cell again. As you can see at the bottom, we are starting to launch, our data real quick. The cool thing about working within PyCharm is we can actually pull it up over here on the side. So here it is. This is, it's working right here, as you can see. We do have our data. So here's A and here's B. If you are using just Jupyter Notebook by itself, you should also be able to see this. And what we will do, just to kind of show that, I'm going to go into our Jupyter Notebook over here. I'm going to pull this up for a second, go over here, and we can actually click on this. And this is going to take us directly to where we need to go. So here we are. This is what you should be seeing if you're not working within PyCharm. And over here, you should be able to see your notebook, and you're all set. So you could run the code same way, and the only reason why this isn't showing is because I'm also rendering it on PyCharm. If you do get this issue for some reason, you can fix this with a comma, and you could say ignore. So ignore underscore duplicates, and with ignore duplicates equal to true, you should be able to run this just fine. So I'm just gonna run that cell, and there you go. So we got that rendering on here. So with all that said and done, let's actually work with some real data. So I'm gonna jump back into our PyCharm. I'm gonna move this down a lot. I'm gonna go down. We're gonna create a new code cell over here. I'm just gonna comment this out because we really don't need this right now. So just comment that out. I'm going to go down to this cell, and we're going to actually start off. So first thing let's import our package that we're going to need. So we'll do import. We need PyCoin Gecko, and then we want to actually change this to from PyCoin Gecko, and then we can actually do our import, which is going to be CoinGecko API. So with that, we need to initialize it. So CG is going to be, what we're going to be using for that. We can say CoinGecko API, run that. Then we can actually create our function. So with our function, it's going to be coin market cap chart range by ID. So to kind of explain what the heck that actually is, I'm going to go over to the documentation. I will include this in the link in the description down below. And what we are looking at here, this is basically what we're going to be pulling on. And then it gives us an explanation of really what this actually is. But really what you can see here is the items that are required. So there's an ID that's required to be passed through to get something to render, versus currency is required, a from and a to. Also, a key thing to note is Unix timestamp. That's the way that it's all formed. You can convert that, vice versa between timestamp to this version to just regular date, and I'll kind of explain that a little bit more in a second. But with that, let's jump back into here and let's get this thing running. So let's go in and we're going to create a function. So we'll say def run underscore coin underscore market underscore chart underscore range, and within here we're going to pass in our parameters, and we can create these as whatever, but ID is going to be for me just Bitcoin, just to get this thing rolling. So I just pass these in just to make sure that we have a way for this to work regardless. So currency is going to be another one. We're going to make that one USD. You can make that the euro or whatever other currency you want. To underscore time stamp. I'm going to make sure that that is going to be equal to 158 to 156800. Okay, and then from timestamp, and we're gonna make sure that that is gonna be equal to 1539129600. So hopefully, like I said, you guys should be able to see everything. And I'm gonna use that to basically set up our price. So this is going to be what we're going to be pulling. So I'm going to say price is going to be equal to CG, where we are initiating this up here. We will do dot get coin market cap by chart range by ID. As you can see here, it should pop up. ID is going to be equal to ID. Versus currency is going to be equal to versus currency. Then we have to timestamp is going to be equal to to timestamp, and then we have from timestamp is going to be equal to from timestamp. And with all that said and done, we should have initiated all this. I'm gonna go over here, create new line, just so you guys can see what's actually going on here. So now with us setting up our data, let's bring it into a data frame. So I'm just going to say data frame is going to be equal to pd.dataframe. And within here, we're going to be passing in this price variable. And all we want to do is let's just print, we could just say print data frame, and we want to just return df. So with all that said and done, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to create a new insert for the code. And I'm just going to say Bitcoin is going to equal run coin market cap range. And that's all we're going to do here. So with all this said and done, let's run this. So I'm going to run this cell. Then I want to run this cell. And then I want to run this cell. And if I pull over this on the side, we can see what we're going to get here. All right, so it took a second to execute, but after it did execute, we can see what we get returned. So this is our data. So we have our price up here, we have our market cap, then we have our total volume. If we're taking a look at it, we can see that we have these numbers right here, which is our timestamp, and then right next to it, we can see that this is our price, timestamp, this is our market cap, timestamp, and then that's our total volume. So with this information, we know that we kind of have to clean things up. So in order to clean this up, we're going to create another data frame up here, and we're going to just kind of start working through this. So right off the get-go, I'm going to get rid of this, and we're going to go down here. I'm going to create a data frame 2. Data frame 2 is going to be equal to pd.dataframe. And within here, we're going to be passing in our data frame, and we're going to say price is, because that's what we are showing right here. So this is what we're going to take off right out the get-go, and that's how you're going to be referencing it. So we say the data frame, we are specifically looking at the prices object. We want to say dot values, and we want to do dot to list. So with that, we can go over here. We say columns is going to equal, and we're going to say time. And then we're going to say an F string over here, and we are going to say ID underscore price. So with this said and done, let's actually see what we have here. I'm going to rerun this, go up here, rerun this, go up here, rerun that. So with this done, we basically just took the price and we broke it down to make it look a lot nicer. So we have the time right here, and then we have the Bitcoin price right here. So with that, I'm going to continue on, and we are going to focus our attention on the time variable. So if we dive into this, we could see that we have price, market cap, and total volume. And the one thing they all share in common is this here, and this is the Unix-based time that we were reading about when going through the CoinGecko documentation. So what we really need to do here is we need to create a conversion to turn this Unix time into a date time object, to make it easier to read our graphs. So this is where we kind of split roads. I do have a Udemy course down below where I am going to be including the function, the class that is basically going to go more in depth into this topic and how I went about breaking down this Unix object into a date time object and vice versa. So if you want, like I said, the Udemy course is not required to continue on with this YouTube course that we are currently engaged in, but there are a lot of extra features like this that will really, give you more insight into some of the other things that we are working on, especially whenever it deals with graphing, because it's a graphing focused course, especially on Dash and Plotly and all that other good stuff. So with that, we are going to import this class and we're going to continue on. Like I said, it's not required, but it will make you viewing your information a little bit easier. So I'm going to go back over here. We are going to focus in on this date time object. And in order to do this, I'm going to go up top. We're going to be bringing in the class that I made in the Udemy course. And like I said, we can get around that. I'll show you how to get around that if you aren't enrolled in the Udemy course. But we're going to do from, and we're going to be referencing our convert units to date time. We want to basically import our convert units to date time. And within here, I'm going to reference it as CUD. The reason why I'm doing that is just to shorten it up a bit, and that stands for convert units date. So with that said, now I could do df2, and we want to be referencing the file that we're trying to change, or I guess the column that we're trying to change. So within here, we're trying to change the time column, which is declared right here that we created. Now we want to make sure that that is going to be equal to df2, and we want to also be going back over to our time, and within here we want to do apply, and within here we're going to be applying through a lambda function. So we'll be doing lambda x, and what lambda does is it basically rolls through this column. At each value within the column, it applies some type of operation on it. And the operation that we're trying to apply is basically throw in this value into our class that we made. So that's where I'm going to be bringing in CUD, and we're going to be passing in our X right here, and we want to just convert it. So we'll do convert Unix. So with all that said and done, all we need to do is we need to change this time variable, and what we want to do is we want to make that our our new index. So the way that you set an index within a data frame is you reference the data frame. So df2 is going to equal df2, and then we want to do set index, and within here we're going to be passing in time. So with all this said and done, now we can actually print this out and run this and see what we have. So I'm going to run over here, I'm going to run this code, and I'm going to pull this up, and as you can see here, this is on a different plane than we had over here, and we have time, and it lists out the actual time of all of our Unix numbers. So that's a lot better to read, but like I said, this isn't necessary or required. So if you aren't enrolled in the Udemy course and you haven't figured out how to make a class yourself on how to do this, what I'm going to reference you to do, it just won't look as pretty, but you will get the same outcome. All you're going to need to do is delete this right here. And all you're going to be doing is setting df2 equals df2.setIndexTime. And what you're going to get, if we run that, just to kind of show you, is you get your time within these Unix variables. So like I said, it doesn't look as pretty, but it will work just the same. So with that said and done, I'm going to go back because I like this one better because it is cleaner and it just looks better for somebody to be able to read. The last thing we need to do is we need to bring in the other ones that we had. So we had market cap and we had total volume, which are currently not within this data frame. So in order to add that, we are going to create a list, and we're going to call this one market underscore cap, and within here this is just going to be a blank list, and there's a few other ways to do this, but this is just the simplest one, and it's really understandable on how I went about it. We're going to create a for loop, and we're going to do item and row, and within here we want to reference our data frame. So it's item and row, and we want to do df. Within here, we are going to be referencing our market caps. So market caps. And within this, we want to do market cap dot append, and we only want to append the row. So that is how we are going to be able to bring in our items into this market cap, and we will basically be adding that back into this new data frame that we are, building out. So I'm just going to copy this because we're going to be doing the exact same thing basically, but for total volume. So I'm just going to change these up a little bit. So I'm going to do total underscore volume. Over here, I'm going to do total volume, total underscore volume. And then we need to also reference total volumes. So total underscore volumes. And other than that, we are all set. So with all this said and done, now we just need to add this into our data frame. And before we do that, I just noticed that I typed this wrong. So that's going to be an O, that's going to be an O, and then I'm going to make that an O. So volumes. Okay, so what we do to create a new column within a data frame is we're going to be referencing our data frame that we are currently working within, which is this df2 one. We are going to pass in what we want to name this column. So we're going to be calling this one what it actually is. So I'm going to be doing an f string, which is ID. And I'm going to do an underscore, and we're going to do market underscore cap. So the reason why I'm using an F string to declare what I want to name this column is so if we add other coins, we can see which market cap is associated with which. Because if you have a few different graphs that we're going to be bringing in, and if you just have market cap, it's going to get really confusing. So if you provide the ID, and the ID variable is up here, which is Bitcoin currently, but we will be able to dynamically change that whenever we call this function right here. So I could be passing in Ethereum, and then this will throw up Ethereum market cap, or XRP, or Ripple market cap, or any other coin. You could fill in the blank, but that's really what I'm doing here. So we created this column, and it is assigned appropriately, and it has a good name. So now we just need to make sure that is going to be equal to market cap. So that's really easy enough, and we're going to be doing the same thing. So df2, we're going to be pulling in another f string, and within here it's going to be basically the exact same thing, ID underscore, and we're just going to call this one total underscore volume. And within this, we're just going to make sure this is going to be equal to total volume. So that is really simple. And all we need to do is return df2 now, not df. We're going to delete all of that, and we are good to go. So all I'm going to do down here is I'm going to basically be bringing in another one. So let's just call this one Ethereum. Ethereum is the second largest coin within cryptocurrency. So I'm going to be running it in this operation again, and we're going to be passing in a different ID. So make sure that ID is going to be equal to Ethereum. And that is how we are going to change that. So with all of this all said and done, we can go over and add Bitcoin and Ethereum into one data frame. And it's really easy to join data frames together because these are the same format. So I'm just going to say all coins, and we're going to make sure that that is going to be equal to Bitcoin. And we're going to do join. And within here, we're going to be passing in Ethereum. And lastly, we want to do how, and we're going to make sure that it's going to be outer. So with that done, I'm going to be creating another code block right here. And this is where we're going to be pulling up detail again. So we'll do detail. We're going to do show. And within here, we're going to be passing in all coins. So with all this said and done, we have built out this. So let's run it. Let's see where we're at. And let's see if we got this thing working. So I'm running the operation. I'm going to pull this up on the side, and voila, we have what we need showing. So as you can see here, we have all of our tables, which look awesome. Everything is rendering really smoothly. We can go over here. We can go into our charts, and we can see, everything just looks nice. This really doesn't work well, with PyCharm from what I noticed. So if you are having issues with that, you can go over here within the Jupyter Notebook and just go over to your server log. And right here, you'll have a way to get to it right away. So once this loads up, we're brought up to the Jupyter Notebook that this is actually running within. And we can see everything that we were doing. We can run the operation again, and we should have our dashboard right here, which is going to be this detail dashboard. So as you can see here, we got all of the information that we were looking for. Everything is organized nicely. We have everything that we really needed. So I think correlation's a pretty good one. I can kind of show you correlation. That's a really interesting one. So you can go over here, you could select different ones, or you could just click on them. So if I want to do the correlation between Ethereum price, and I want to see the correlation between that and let's say Bitcoin price, we can click on both of those and we can see a Bitcoin price and then Ethereum price. Click on that, and we can kind of get an idea of what's going on here. So there's a few different ones, like I said, that you can kind of use this as. But yeah, so anyway, at the end of the day, I hope that this was really informative on how to build out and work with detail. I don't want to make this a really long video, but I really wanted to show you guys the basics with basically working within an API, pulling up data and how to integrate it into detail and data frames and all that other good stuff. So if you guys learned something new in this video, please shoot me a like down below. It really helps me out. Subscribe if you haven't. I try to put out videos once every week. And anyway, at the end of the day, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.